I'm Lara Lyn, and today on Time for Sharing, we go from the hunt to the table at Gray Moss Plantation. The table is set with my sweet and savory quail, a family favorite, Vidalia onion casserole, and for dessert, my decadent blue cheese and fig cheesecake. So go ahead and pull up a chair. I've saved a seat for you. Quail hunting has a long tradition. It is a sport of southern plantation gentry who ride walking horses with guns at their sides. They watch as pedigreed pointing dogs race across the fields before them. Here in my own backyard of South Georgia, quail hunting is as much a sport as it is an act of preserving the past. I'm at Gray Moss Plantation to experience the hunt for myself. Built between 1830 and 1840, this South Georgia plantation has preserved its history, ensuring that future generations will be able to enjoy it as well. I'm so excited about my excursion today. It's close to my home in Albany, and this part of the South is exceptionally beautiful, with picturesque live oaks and Spanish moss. Progress and population have certainly impacted this part of Georgia, but there are still enormous tracts of land that have been preserved by conservation-minded families and organizations. In generations past, when you needed to put fresh meat on the table, it usually started out in the field with your best dogs and a hunting rifle. Today, these traditions are still alive and well at many lodges across the South, and our destination is no exception.
But my fingernails purely hurt, they're so cold. My hands are so cold.
It was a little chilly as we set out for our hunt, but the property was gorgeous. Our guides took great care of us as we made our way deep into the plantation property. Traveling on horseback and by a horse-drawn wagon made it really easy to imagine what a hunt might have been like a century earlier.
Whoa.
Nice shot. Will they hold that point until she finds the bird and lets the bird up?
The dogs, they're trained steady to winging shots, so they will stand steady and let the flushing dog go in and flush, and let the flushing dog retreat.
And they always bring the bird back to you or to the wagon at the end?
Right, the last bird goes back to the wagon. There's more than one bird down. They'll bring the first one or two to me. The last bird always goes back to the wagon.
These delicate birds are now served in a variety of different ways in restaurants all across the country. I have our quail from today, and I'm headed home to make a wonderful meal with a twist for my friends at Gray Moss. I can't think of a better way to end a wonderful day at Gray Moss than with a wonderful meal. And I'm going to start with my favorite thing, dessert first. I'm going to make my blue cheese and fig cheesecake. And I'm going to start with 1 stick of butter that I've already melted and 2½ cups of graham cracker crumbs and 1 cup of sugar. This is really simple. This is a basic graham cracker pie crust, but it makes a very big, thick pie crust. And you really want that when you're working with a cheesecake like this one, because you really need that balance of sweet to go with the savory that you're going to have from the blue cheese. And you just give this a gentle mix and press it into your cheesecake pan. I've already greased and lined my cheesecake pan with parchment paper. You do not have to bake this ahead of time. It'll all bake together. And once you have that well incorporated, we'll just pour it into our prepared tray. The parchment paper really makes it so much easier to get out. There's nothing worse than putting so much work into something and having it not want to come out. We'll just press this down with our hands. It's great if it goes up the side just a little bit because it helps hold in that cheesecake filling mixture. And now for the filling. You want to make sure all of your ingredients are at room temperature. I've got 1½ sticks of cream cheese, ½ cup of sugar, 5 ounces of blue cheese, already crumbled, and 2 eggs. I'm going to go on and get this mixture started. We're going to add our eggs one at a time and beat well after each addition. Making sure that your ingredients are at room temperature really just ensures that the cheesecake or anything you're baking will bake evenly. Add a teaspoon of vanilla for a little extra flavor. Scrape down our sides and make sure we get all that flavor in there. This is such a great twist on a traditional cheesecake. And we are set. We'll pour this in our pie crust. This is one of those dishes that, even though it's a dessert and everyone thinks of sweet, that little bit of savory pairs really well with a port wine after dinner. And it's just such an unusual twist from what people are normally expecting for dessert. It'll be perfect with this dinner. Now this will bake in a 350-degree oven for 60 minutes. And when it comes out, there's one more little layer that we're gonna add. This just makes it a little bit more decadent. This is 1 cup of sour cream and ½ cup of sugar. And you put this on the cheesecake right after it comes out of the oven while it's still really hot, and you're gonna pop it back in the oven for another 10 minutes and let it finish baking. Then all you have to do is chill it, and we'll top it off with some wonderful homemade fig preserves and walnuts. I'm gonna get this in the oven, and then we'll get started with our sweet and savory quail. When the hunters come down here, what are they expecting to see versus what they really come back to you and go, wow, this is so much more than I imagined?
You know, I think they really love to come to the Old South. I think they love the, you know, the outdoors, the woods, the dogs, horses, people, the food, you know, having, you know, the old ladies cook for them, things that grandma made, you know, the old-fashioned cornbread, you know, sweet potato casseroles, things like that.
And of course the quail.
And of course the quail, that's right.
Do you ever have anybody write you or call you and say, I'm coming to the South, I've never had grits or a grit. I would like to request this.
We had a group from New Jersey maybe a month ago. The guy said, I do not like grits, I don't want any grits, so I'm gonna try them. I look over, he's mixing mayhaw jelly with his grits. He's stirring it up, but he devours it. He absolutely loves it. So
did he know what mayhaw jelly was if he had never had grits?
I had to explain that to him too, so he wanted to try it, and you know, it was meant for the biscuit, not for the grits, but he loved it.
The plantations that would have been around 200 years ago, is this a good representation of the size they would have been?
Probably would have been much larger. Actually, Gray Moss was part of 50,000 acres that the family had, you know, the Green family. And so I think, you know, now of course it's 2,000 acres, but I guess this would have been 1830s. It was part of a 50,000 acre tract.
After a day's hunting, the birds were brought back to the cooks at these plantations to serve as part of the evening meal. And serve they did, alongside other wild game, fruits and vegetables from the area, and of course, fine wines. Traditionally, they were seasoned with salt and pepper, floured, and deep fried until golden, then immediately smothered in gravy.
For our main dish, we're gonna do my sweet and savory quail. If you don't have a hunter in your family, or you didn't get to spend the day quail hunting like we did, you can buy these at your local grocery store. And quail are very delicate little birds. You'll need about 2 per person when you're making these. I'm gonna start with 1 stick of butter. And you will not need to grease your pan that your quail are in, because the butter will add all of the oils that you need. And we're just gonna melt this down slightly. Now, like I said, normally with quail, you'd have heavy gravy and things like that with it. These are sweet and they fall off the bone tender because you cook them low and slow. Now while the butter melts, I'm gonna get one other ingredient that really brings out the sweet part of it. This is homemade Mayhaw preserves. Now if you don't have Mayhaw, you can substitute grape or currant jelly for this. We have these quite predominantly here in South Georgia, and they work beautifully with it. They give the sweetness, the butter gives the savory. It's a very simple recipe, only 3 ingredients other than your quail. You want to mix the Mayhaw jelly in while the butter is melting because it'll help break down the jelly so that everything spreads smoothly over the quail. And once that has completely melted down, we're going to add one more thing to make it really decadent. Sherry. You're going to add 1/4 cup of cream sherry. Now it's very strong when you smell it, but once it cooks down, all it does is bring out a lot of great flavor. We'll turn off the flame. We'll incorporate our sherry. This smells wonderful. And all we have to do is pour these over our quail, wrap them in tin foil. Now here's the trick. You're gonna cook this low and slow, a 250-degree oven for 3 hours. You can also cook these in a Dutch oven if you want to, but they will be fall off the bone tender. And we'll just pour this evenly over our quail. And we'll put them in a 250-degree oven for 3 hours. I'm gonna get these in the oven, and then we're gonna make our Vidalia onion casserole.
Right to kill. Come here, Rex. Yeah, bird, here.
South Georgia, from Dougherty County, Lee County, the area that I'm from, all the way through Thomasville and Valdosta, that area, is really dominant in the quail hunting as a whole. How much land is really designated for this quail hunting that we get to do?
Probably including the Albany and Thomasville, and even going down into North Florida, the Tallahassee, Monticello, Florida area, probably close to 400,000 or 500,000 acres that's dedicated to quail and quail hunting.
The sport has taken off and people are coming from all over the world. Where are some of the places that you've had people come to hunt?
Well, of course, Atlanta's been very good to us. A lot of people from Atlanta come down. North Carolina, the Northeast, Midwest. Had a group last weekend from Scotland come in, and that was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. It's a whole lot of history for them to experience. They get to see what it was like as a gentleman's sport, but of course with modern day it's a little easier than it would have been 100 years ago. Did they stay for a long time, like several days, or is it usually a one-day
Normally for 2
hunt?
days, sometimes maybe 3, but the last group I had come in, so it was a group of 10. So the guys and the girls hunted the first day. The second day, I took all the ladies to Thomasville, took them to Pebble Hill so they could, explore that and see that, and then took them shopping downtown, and so we had a great time.
So it's something for everybody.
Absolutely.
The perfect side dish for my sweet and savory quail is my Vidalia onion casserole. Now this is an award-winning recipe in my family. It's the one I get asked to make over and over again. And I'm going to start with 1 stick of butter. And to that, I'm going to add 6 cups of Vidalia onions. Now, if Vidalia onions are not available in your area or they're not in season, you can substitute either the Texas sweet or the sweet Peruvians. One of the sweet onions will work. You don't want to use anything that's sharp. Once our butter melts, we'll just put these onions in and let them saute until they're tender. You don't want to caramelize them. Now that our butter's starting to melt, we're going to go on and add our onions. Now I've already sliced these into big slices, about 2 inches each. You don't want to dice them. You want to have really a big bite of the onion. And now we're going to bring our mixture together. Now this is a very rich, rich recipe. We're gonna start out with cream of mushroom soup, just 1 can of cream of mushroom soup. This is the recipe that when people call and say, what do you want to bring? They suggest this. 1/2 cup of heavy cream, 1 cup of sharp cheddar cheese that I've already shredded, and then we're also going to add 1 cup of Parmesan cheese grated. You want to make sure that your Parmesan cheese is really, really cold. It makes it easier to grate. If there is a cheese lover in your family, they will love this. Parmesan cheese really adds a salty bite that goes really well with the sharp cheddar. We'll add our Parmesan cheese and mix everything together. Now to this, we're going to add a little bit of smoky flavor with some smoked paprika, just 1/4 teaspoon. Adds just another layer of flavor. The Vidalia onions are very, very sweet, and any kind of sweet onion would work in this, but these just happen to be a Georgia native onion, so when I can get my hands on them, these are what I use. This is a really easy recipe to double or triple for a crowd. You want to look for them to become a little opaque in color, but make sure you don't caramelize them, because they'll finish baking in the oven. It'll take about 6 to 8 minutes for your onions to cook down where they need to be. And then all we have to do is add our ingredients together. I'm going to turn our heat down just a little bit. And add our soup and cheese mixture. This all together. This smells wonderful. I have a baking dish that I've already greased, and we're going to layer this into 2 parts. We're going to spoon half the mixture into the baking dish. You can see all the cheese and the onions, and they're just starting to get a little bit opaque. And spread it out. Then we add our breadcrumbs. We have plain butter cracker crumbs. And we're gonna put half of them in this layer, and then we're gonna add a layer of cheese crackers. As if this isn't cheesy enough, we're gonna add some cheese crackers as well. And add the remaining of your onion mixture. And then you pop this in a 350-degree oven for 25 to 30 minutes. It's golden and bubbly. It's wonderful.
Wagon. Wagon. Get on the wagon.
She's like a little fireball when she's going through the brush.
That's the reason we use the English cockers, because they can get under the brush and flush the bird so good.
Is it all the cocker breeds or just the English specifically?
We mostly use field-bred English cockers, and they'll range anywhere from 25. Grace is exceptionally small. She's only 18, but they range typically 25 to 35 pounds.
She's amazing to watch.
A lot of dry, but they're calm in the house, so they're good pets as well as hunting dogs.
Mm-hmm. And Dan, this is his first season, but he's already a lot bigger than Gracie.
Yeah, and they have the same daddy. That's the cool thing about the English cockers, is you never know what color. Mm-hmm. You know, there's so many different varieties. They're happy doing what they're doing, and they make They're better pets than they are hunting dogs.
You could tell when we were on the wagon, Gracie was getting all excited. She was tense, but she was shaking, but it wasn't because she was cold. She was just excited. She said,
Right.
I know what's about to happen, and she was just excited.
She enjoys it.
She was ready to have some fun. Even the dogs are sportsmanlike.
Oh, absolutely.
When
They're
Stuart-
athletes.
When Stuart was working with the dogs, one of them had the point and the other one just stopped and stood back like,
That's right.
no, that's his turn. And it was just really neat because it's a gentlemanly sport and you see them behave so properly.
Yes.
It was just really
Very well
amazing. It makes the dogs, I can't imagine after doing this today not having the dogs as part of it. They are a big
Huge
part of it. They
Absolutely. They are athletes and part of the show for sure.
And something like this at Gray Moss, when you get the horses, the wagons, the mules, everything, and you get to step back in time and do something like this, it makes the day so wonderful.
Absolutely. A great way to spend the day for sure.
Of course, the most important part is we want to get those quail so we can cook the quail. We gotta have dinner, so we've got to get the reward at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Our dinner has turned out perfectly. Our showstopper dessert looks beautiful. I've already added the homemade fig preserves to the top, such a great contrast to the flavors of the blue cheese. And I'm just gonna add a few walnuts to the top, a little contrast and crunch to go with it. They pair all so beautifully together. Put this with a glass of port wine, you would have a wonderful dessert. And our quail, just like I told you, fall off the bone tender. They are going to love this. I'm going to get everything packed up and head over to the plantation to enjoy our wonderful dinner. My friends and I are going to enjoy our meal in the dining room here at Gray Moss. And we have this old table as the backdrop. This antique piece is so pretty, I really don't want to take away from it, so I want to keep the table setting very clean and very simple. I'm going to mix a little old with a little new, starting with the dishes. These are my grandmother's. They're very old, but they're very simple. White with a little sprig of wheat and a simple gold band. Nothing busy. Another antique piece, the cake stand, and our dessert becomes the centerpiece. Very pretty, very simple again. For something new, our goblets, water and wine, and of course our silverware. For a little splash of color, a pretty green linen napkin. Adds a little something to the table, but again, not busy. Now here's the really neat twist on the table. These were my great-great-grandmothers. They're about 200 years old. They're called bone dishes. They were used to discard your fish and poultry bones so that your plate did not get cluttered. Everything needed to be kept pretty at the table setting. You see how they're shaped? That's so they fit perfectly at the side of your plate. Your presentation is pretty and everything looked great. I think our table setting is perfect. It's clean and simple. All I have to do now is pick a bottle of wine and we're ready to eat. This is where the morning hunt pays off in the dinner. The quail are from our hunt this morning and they are fall off the bone tender. They're cooked with sherry, butter, and mayhaw jelly. And then Vidalia onion casserole, but since Vidalias aren't in season, I did have to use some Texas sweet. A lot of cheese, a lot of cream, very good.
Lara Lyn, what exactly is in the cheesecake again?
Nothing helped. No. Of course, it's a graham cracker crust, which is sugar, graham cracker, butter. But the cheesecake itself is a traditional cheesecake, but I also added Danish blue cheese to it. And our wine is a Viognier. It's a French white. Doc Lawrence suggested that for our quail when I told him what I was having. So y'all enjoy. Cheers.
How about it? Cheers. Cheers.